Welcome back to Manga Story, and things look a bit different here. We have a man with so much hair it's about to consume his face. This is my dear friend Dan, and I had an idea since I'm reading pretty much 30 chapters of One Piece a week right now, which we might be reducing, and I'm going to start reading more Berserk, and I'm going to start reading Black Clover, and I still got to finish up Dragon Ball. It's a lot to read. So I thought it might be fun while there's a bunch of new anime coming out for Dan and I to watch like the big hit episode that dropped and read the manga. So like this, for example, and kind of, since we're manga historian, talk about the differences from the manga to the anime. Did we like the translation? Did we disenjoy the translation? And the first one I thought would be fun because solo leveling, disenjoy? Disenjoy is a word. I made it up. It works.
Okay, yeah, totally. Disenjoy.
But I thought it'd be a lot of fun to talk about this because this has become like Dan's favorite manhwa. It's not a manga, Dan. You know that, right?
I did know that, yeah.
Which explains why it's like a beefy book in comparison to manga.
Benny's the manga historian. I am the manhwa historian.
Manhwa historian. You're not at your mic. No one can hear you.
I know, sorry. I got all 7 volumes that are currently out.
I really
like this one. Benny bought me this. I was very thankful for that because Benny has the first 2 volumes digital. I read them, I loved them, and then Benny bought the.
Well, we went to Barnes and Noble. You read those 2 and you loved them, and then they had that 5 manga or manhwa pack, like on a sale, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's get that, and I got it for him so he can read it too. So since Solo Leveling is finally getting its first episode to kick off this idea of kind of watching the new stuff as it comes out and give our opinions on it and kind of make a podcast, but not make a podcast. There's going to be a rotating guest individuals if Dan's not available. I do have other people that watch and read these things, but we're going to start with this one. So Dan, Solo Leveling, episode 1. Let's just go initial thoughts. Now, for the record, since we have read way ahead of this, I've read up to volume 3. You've read up to volume 7.
Yep.
I do want to put a rule in so people don't have to worry. We will not talk about anything past the first episode until a certain point in the podcast. We will announce like now we're talking past these episodes for people who just want to know the differences of the initial episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then for others who have read it and want to know our opinions on the changes, we'll talk further. Okay.
I will potentially mention something that was in the trailer for it, but wasn't necessarily in this first episode. And I'm only going to mention it because it was in the trailer, so people will know what it is because it's very iconic. So, first opinions, though, on the episode. I enjoyed it, but I feel like they stopped it at the wrong point, and they should have launched this as a 40-minute first episode. Yeah. Or,
no, I don't
the
think
first 2 episodes. Yeah.
I think they should have dropped the first 2 episodes. I agree with you on that entirely. My initial impressions are I really liked it. Some of the changes they made I thought were actually really good. For the pacing of this is not that great. If you don't know, this was originally released on Webtoons. So the pacing wasn't a pain because you would just read a whole bunch of chapters at once when it dropped.
Yeah.
So but I agree. I don't like where they stopped it. I think it's a bad impression, but I do think they may have fixed that with the stuff that they added into episode 1 to add intrigue and make you, oh, okay, that's where we're going to go.
Right. And that's kind of what my problem was. So what Benny's referring to, obviously, is at the start of this, we see S-rank hunters, and it's basically hey, this is what the most powerful people are capable of. Now let's go to the story of the weakest hunter in the world.
Right, which if you know any anime, that's the story. Him getting from that weak point to the S-rank hunter story, basically.
Exactly. And I feel like the spot in which the episode ended was it's right before something that would have been a great ending in the comic itself or in the manhwa itself. And I'm going to mention it because it was in the trailer. It's the smile. The smile in that statue should have been the last thing on that screen after he goes.
That is in the trailer, very prominent in the trailer.
Like it should have ended with that smile coming across the face, blackout. Either that or go through the entire sequence. But without that, I feel like they missed their chance at ending it in a way that's going to make people go, yes, I need this next episode. Because now I feel like it ended in a way that was like,
I was just talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen.
There you go.
There we go. And how I'm on episode 7 and it feels very cookie cutter to me at the moment. Not that I'm gonna drop it, I'm gonna keep watching and figure it out.
Mhm.
And this is kind of how episode 1 of this feels. It feels like
Mhm.
every other isekai. Now I know it's kind of a reverse isekai where they're coming to us as opposed to us going to them, but it does feel like that right now, like every other one that's like this. Now, if you've read Solo Leveling, you know that's not where it goes. It goes in a different direction. It stands out. But it does feel that way from this first episode, which I do feel is kind of working against it
Mhm.
because they dropped one episode, right? And you're just supposed to know that it's going to be interesting as it goes. Now, I know the standard rule in anime is the first 3 episodes, but it's harder to convince people to do that when so much anime drops at the exact same time and they're not giving us the 3 episodes.
That, and I feel like another thing that kind of is working against them is how popular Solo Leveling is. People have talked up Solo Leveling this launch. If you go to Crunchyroll, it had like 17,000 reviews before it even dropped because so many people read the web novel, read the webtoon.
It was free.
They hyped it up. It was all of that stuff, and then they dropped it. And I feel like they launched the anime with kind of a and because it was kind of and everyone talked it up, it makes it even more of like a what's everyone talking about? Like that wasn't anything.
Yeah, I mean,
special.
I know a lot of people that won't read the manga. Like for Dan, I know it's a manhwa. I'm just used to saying manga. Dan doesn't normally read the manga. I've told him 100 times to go read some of the stuff he wants to read, like way back in the day when he liked Seven Deadly Sins, and I kept reading it. I was like, Dan, read Seven Deadly Sins. Same thing with Attack on Titan. Now Attack on Titan has ended as an anime, and Dan has still not picked up a manga for it.
I mean, I don't know. I have no real desire to be honest with you.
But yeah, so let's talk about what we did like. Because we both agreed we don't like where it ended. It's at a bad point, and we'll talk about that. But I actually really like showing off the S rank hunters, and I don't know who the blonde girl is. Either I didn't catch her in the first 3 volumes, or she's way later.
She's, if I remember right, she's one of those characters that's like sprinkled in here and there, but doesn't become super relevant till later. If I recall correctly, she doesn't really come relevant until those other S-rank hunters become relevant again. So it very much
and
was
in the
like
first 3 volumes that I've read, none of them are relevant.
Yeah, so for me, that part was actually really cool because later on they do actually bring those. They do introduce the S rank and they do those names. And when I was watching, I'm like, I know those names. Like, this is cool. I'm seeing stuff. It's like what I told Benny. I'm finally one of those people, though, that gets to say the manga was better. I read it first, read it better. But no, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a good port, a good addition. But once again, the ending, I just can't get over how lackluster that ending was.
It was weird because the episode opens up with the S-rank hunters, and then we have the entire episode of Jinwoo just being terrible. That's basically it. And then he gets healed. And that's how the story starts. It does start that way. We learn about his financial problems. We learn about why he does what he does, even though he's probably going to die. He thinks he's going to die, obviously. And we learn all about that. And his friend, what's the girl's name again? I can't remember off the top of my head.
That's not Jinwoo.
No. Jinwoo was the guy.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes saying the names that nope, because my head's going to different
manhwa that I've read. Here, I'm looking at it.
Suhi,
yeah.
Or Su?
No, Juhi.
Juhi? Okay.
Juhi or Johi. I don't know how to pronounce it because it's Korean.
Yeah.
But Juhi or Johi. Yeah, that's who it is. Okay.
Yes, for the record, apologies. We will mispronounce some names. Even when I read all of these and whenever I read like my Korean manhwa, I always try and look up how to pronounce their names because it's so much different than what my head wants to pronounce them as.
You're going one step further than me. I mean, Juhi and Jinwoo are fine, but some of these names I was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, the first episode was kind of like luster. What did you think about the animation? Because I loved the fight sequence in the beginning, but you could tell that they were spending their budget on like to make those sequences worth it,
right?
Because the middle felt kind of meh.
So for those who don't know, and this is a slight spoiler, but it's not entirely. Obviously, the character is going to have growth, and as he grows, his look changes drastically, as you can see on the cover of that, versus like the little weakling that you see in the anime.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that everyone looks kind of lackluster right now to accentuate, like make it more clear of how bland he is, and that later
That's a
on
good
it kind
take on
of
it. Yeah.
crisps up and looks a lot cooler. Because frankly, when I was watching some of them, I was like, this doesn't feel like it's got the budget that it should. Like
Yeah.
all these other characters, like they just don't have the detail that I would have wanted them to have.
Like I said, I feel like the budget went into the fight sequences, like in the opening sequence, to make it just look epic and awesome and hook everyone in immediately.
Exactly. But like it's once he gets bigger, that's when we're going to see whether or not the animation truly fits what this is deserving of.
Yes.
As of right now, I'm going to kind of hesitate on giving a full opinion because it is that first episode. But if it does match the fight and kind of builds off of that, very happy. If it goes a little more of what we saw when it's Sungwoo, I can't remember his name, Jinwoo,
yeah.
Jinwoo Sung, I believe is his name. Yeah, like he looked just so bland, but I hope
he did. I mean, all
the
the characters really did. All the other hunters, and you're right. I didn't even think about it. That could be such a good way to do it, where he, gets to this point, which I'm showing again on the screen.
Yeah.
And like it could be to make that more stand out. All right, so we're going to talk briefly about what's probably going to be episode 2, because most likely that's what's going to happen, and anything further. So if you don't want any spoilers moving forward from the manhwa guys who have read everything going forward, then this is your time to drop off the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and next week we're going to talk about Metallic Rouge, and we'll see if episode 2 actually kind of picked up the pace. So for those who don't know what's going on with all of this, in the second episode, well, first off, that is all that was covered. I put a bookmark in. You can't really get a good shot on it. There you go. Okay. This is episode 1 of the volume. That's episode 1. So that should tell you, like, the whole first season, like, I feel like it's only going to cover 2 volumes. What do you think?
I completely agree. I think that...
Because you got, at this pace, you got like 5 episodes in here.
This is what I wanted to look for. So if you see on here, you see how it says "Arise" right
That's
there?
Like the slogan, basically.
It's the slogan. I think the show is going to end the first season with him saying it.
You think so?
With the pacing that it's currently going, I don't think that the show's going to get to that point. And I say that because I don't even know if it's at the end of volume 1 that it happens, because I remember you giving me that. I saw Arise. I had read volume 1 and 2. I didn't know what Arise meant. Like, I had no idea what that meant. And I think it's at the end of volume 2. So I think, like, the fact of how little they've gone through in just what we have, I don't know how far we're going to get in this first season. And it's a bummer, because it would have been cool if it did end with the moment where he does say "arise" and we see what that means. But if we get to that, we're going to skip over so much stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because it reminds me of what they did with Chainsaw Man season 1, where it barely touched on the overarching story that really gives a lot of character and depth to what makes Chainsaw Man good.
Right.
It was very interesting to get to the end of that and be like, wow, this is like 3 volumes or 4 volumes out of like the 11 you need to do the full story. So I'm very interested to see what they're doing at this, because Solo Leveling, it doesn't feel like they want to rush through it, but it is a slow burn, even in the book. It's a very slow burn, because it was given away for free, so there was no hindrance to make you have to, like, I don't know, be fully invested. I do think part of its success was that it's so incredible, and it started off as a free webtoon. Like, it was totally free to get invested into. Barrier for entry was low. So I wonder about this. It's very interesting. If you don't know, I don't think they should have ended the first episode where they did. The story is next going to pick up with him showing how amazing he is and basically getting his abilities and surviving the onslaught of the statues in a very gruesome and brutal way. And I really felt like when that ends, when he kind of...
Sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I felt like when he dies, because that's where it all starts. I feel like
yes.
that is where episode 1 should have ended. And if they weren't gonna do that 40-minute episode, do first 2 episodes.
So I'm going to show a page from it. This is what I personally feel the first episode should have ended on. That. Instead of just that
Isn't that at the end of that? Isn't it in that sequence where they're at now too?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing.
That's what he notices when he notices the things. Yeah.
It would have worked. Does it necessarily happen at that exact moment? No, it happens a little bit further, but the audience, it doesn't matter. They do that in anime all the time where they show something a little further to give you that bit. And just imagine if he said, so the episode ends with him going, "We're all going to die." If it panned to that statue and then the statue got that grin.
Yeah.
Like that would have been such a hype ending to an episode of like, what is going on? Because like we saw one guy get ripped in half. We saw a couple other people get completely disintegrated. Like they've already shown the intensity, and to have the statue show the smile that they showed as one of the most prominent things in the trailer for it, like it just would have been that big grab that would have left people going, "Oh my gosh," as opposed to, okay, well, we'll see what the next episode is.
Yep. So, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on where we're at right now. I remember reading like an early access review where some people were like, "Hey, like the first 2 episodes work well together. I wonder how they're going to release this." And then I was like, "Oh, it only gave me episode 1." Uh-oh.
Maybe I'm hoping though that this is going to be one of those ones where when we do see episode 2, we go, okay, they should have done this as 2 episodes, but this was so good that it's gotten me back in, and I feel like other people are going to jump in.
Right.
Because
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, we're also looking at it from the sub point of view, and I feel like by the time the dub starts coming out, a good amount of the sub will have come out to be like, okay, yeah, this is going to be good.
That's true. That could be what they're going for. Like they're just Crunchyroll's trying to get its next big hit. All the big anime are kind of coming up to a close real soon, so they're just stretching out what they have to get people to watch. So that's kind of where I feel they're at.
Yeah.
But all right, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick discussion about new stuff that came out. Like I said, we're going to try it again next week with Metallic Rouge. And if you guys don't want this, just let me know. I'm perfectly fine just reading more manga and manhwa and talking about it directly. But you seem to enjoy some of the conversations I've had with Dan and a few others here. So I thought maybe making it a pseudo regular thing. Like I don't want to force it, but if we've got something we want to watch and we want to talk about, maybe that would be the best way to go about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe. And don't forget, on Friday, I'll be back with the next episode of One Piece. And then we'll be getting your opinions on what we should do with that going forward. Thank you guys. And I'll see you next time right here.